Maybe we should hit another branch.
You know, you talk like we ain't gonna get away with this.
I've never met nobody got away with anything, ever. You?
And why in the hell did you agree to do it?
Because you asked, little brother.
Hi folks, I'm Mckenzie Vishnevetsky.
And I'm Alex Dowd.
We're here this week in the AV Club studio.
Welcome to Film Club.
August. It's been a long, pretty lousy summer for movies, but we have finally arrived on something that we both really, really like.
And that's Hell or High Water, which is a bank robber movie set in West Texas. The plot of this movie is you've got these two brothers, played by Chris Pine and Ben Foster. Pine is sort of the clean-cut brother. Ben Foster is the ex-con. And for some reason, they've started robbing banks. And you've got Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham as these two Texas Rangers who are chasing them because the amounts they're stealing are too small for the FBI to get involved.
This is essentially a film that bifurcates its focus so that half the movie we're following these two brothers as they sort of move from town to town, and the other half you have Bridges and Birmingham trying to catch up to them, but not doing it in a way that suggests that there's a ton of urgency. You know, there's this mystery at the center, but the film is constantly putting off telling us what's happening, really, what these brothers are really after, why they're robbing these banks. And it uses its dialogue not for expositional purposes, but mainly for shading these characters and for shading this world that they're entering.
I mean, there's so many moments in this film that are completely, you could say, extraneous to the plot that I think give it a really rich texture.
Every word that comes out of characters' mouths in this movie is just a joy to listen to. You watch so many, especially crime movies, where the dialogue is so functional, and you watch something like this where every character, from our leads to the bit players, have an interesting way of talking.
It is a movie that puts a lot into crafting very memorable ancillary characters. These are like diner waiters. There are actually several scenes that are just characters sitting in a diner or sitting in a pickup truck or sitting in a motel. We can talk about that, and it sounds like the movie is basically the counselor with people who don't have any money.
Yeah.
But you do get these very efficiently staged, very propulsive,
These
kind
little
of
pressurized
brief
action
bursts of
scenes.
action. Yeah. The climactic bank robbery scene, it's not hugely flashy, but I think it's really, really well staged. It's directed by David Mckenzie, who's a Scottish director. Some people may know him for Young Adam.
He directs this very well, but I don't know if I would consider this primarily a David Mckenzie movie. I think it's more of a Taylor Sheridan movie.
Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Sicario, wrote this.
And in a lot of respects, I see a real kinship between these films. I remember talking about Sicario in one of the first film clubs we did. I remember noting that it felt like sort of off-brand Cormac McCarthy. And there's a little bit of that in this as well, in terms of these characters going around Texas and sort of commenting on how the world is leaving them behind.
I feel Mckenzie's stamp in the way that the relationships are handled. Mckenzie has made relationship films his entire career. Sometimes they're dark, they're pessimistic about relationships between people. Very recently he made Startup. It's a prison drama. He shifted it to this very macho milieu, which sort of continues here. You get it in the relationship between the two brothers. I think that feels like a Mckenzie film, but also the very long takes, often wider compositions than you'll generally see in a Hollywood movie. And that gives it a 70s flavor.
I mean, it is a much warmer film than Sicario as well. This has its bleak qualities in terms of what it's saying about the world, but the relationships are pretty warm in general. Even this sort of antagonistic relationship between the two Texas Rangers.
They do have this mocking relationship, but I feel like the fact that you're getting all of this different stuff together, you get these little ancillary characters, these little side moments, it unfocuses the movie, but in a good way, in a rich way. This movie is only 100 minutes long. And maybe it says something about the state of the film industry that we live in that I can say that it's only 100 minutes
Right.
long. But it manages to pack in so much incident, and that's because there's so much going on.
It's just really a pleasure to watch a movie where every time somebody opens their mouth, they're saying something funny or interesting or something that reveals something about them as a person. So David Mckenzie, hopefully this will raise his profile a little bit. He's a filmmaker who's sort of been
An unknown quantity to the wider audience.
So another director who hasn't quite gotten his due in America is South Korean filmmaker Hong Sang-soo. Now, Hong has a new movie out in select theaters and also on the streaming service Fandor called Right Now, Wrong Then.
Who basically makes the same movie, but it's okay Because the movie's really
The
good.
movie's good, yeah. I mean, this one sort of compounds that general criticism against him because it essentially repeats itself. The structure of the film is this filmmaker comes in for a screening of his latest, and we see a day play out, and then halfway through, the movie kind of reboots and gives us the same day again with some crucial differences. I found myself sort of watching the first half thinking, this is basically another of his studies of social awkwardness, and I felt a little impatient with it. And then the second half recontextualizes it in a way that I think really benefits the first half and really pays off.
Now,
that as well.
you know, as critics, we see a lot of Hong Sang-soo movies
Yeah.
because he makes them at a fairly regular clip. There's sort of this trap, which is to say, oh, it's just like the other Hong Sang-soo movie, and it's this and this and this.
But the people we're writing for haven't
99%
necessarily seen any of those movies.
99%
Yeah.
of all people have not seen a single Hong Sang-soo movie.
So do you think this is a good
I think it's a good entry point
Yeah, yeah.
because the reason I think it's a good entry point, and this is kind of silly, is because it's actually better looking than most of his films. But what is it that's valuable about his films, right? They're really good at conveying these awkward moments in relationships. Really, to me, the quintessential moment is running into people that you sort of remember from a while ago and having this awkward interaction on a street corner, and then you go your separate ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we think of that as cringe comedy, but in a way that I think cringe comedies don't really get it.
I mean, what do you think the relationship is between the two halves here?
I am worried that it is a little didactic. It's not a Goofus and Gallant kind of situation. And one version does turn out better than the other, but I don't think one is like, this is how you do the wrong thing, and this is how you do the right thing.
There's a little bit of an element of that, don't you think, though? I mean, in some of his choices and the way that
But
the
I
way the day
think
turns out.
more the focus is more on how things can quickly compound, even in a first meeting with another person. Like very, very small decisions about what you say can immediately affect your relationship.
I really felt like the second half of this, to me, felt like a reward for the first half. And I'm not denigrating the first segment so much as just saying it is sort of bombarding you with both the mundanity of the situation and the awkwardness. And the second one, we get to sort of see how you can right that ship.